everybody. I've been noticing a trend on the internet, probably because of the things that I follow and the things that I'm interested in. But a lot of people are talking about hormone imbalances and what they can do to change hormone imbalances, because it creates a lot of problems for us in a variety of different ways. So hormone imbalances are derived from high stress levels, poor gut health, vitamin D deficiencies, like too little sunlight, and or obesity, lack of sleep, too little rest. So that kind of goes hand in hand with stress, and too much or too little exercise, environmental exposure. So that could be toxins in your environment, in your house, in the town that you live in the place that you work. And then unhealthy lifestyle choices, so drugs and alcohol, cigarette smoking, and then also poor genetics or different genetics and age. These can all kick our hormones out of balance. And so typically people will go to their GP or their PCP, whatever you want to call it, to get help with this. And for the most part, the medical profession will treat your hormone imbalances using medication. And so they'll take a blood sample or whatever, and then they're going to either recommend hormone replacement therapy or like birth control pills, insulin injections, fertility drugs, or thyroid medications in order to balance the body out quickly. Because in some cases we're in like a dire situation with our hormones and we don't have the time to wait to try to do things naturally, because the negative impacts can be too great. A lot of the time, taking a medication is not going to treat the underlying issue for the problem that you're experiencing. And so, the energy and the nutrients that you get from your food are basically the materials that your body needs to produce hormones and to fuel your body properly. So, for instance, cholesterol, healthy cholesterol, is where a lot of our reproductive hormones are fed from. So a lot of high fat foods are going to give you high and good fat are going to give you healthy and happy working productive reproductive hormones. And then, another thing to consider is hormones impact one another in your body. And so that's why with the endocrine system, which contains all of your hormones, everything is connected. And so that means if your body is producing a certain level of one hormone like cortisol, other hormones like estrogen and progesterone or thyroid or testosterone are going to drop. So everything in your endocrine system is connected. Your body makes hormones from something called precursors, and that typically they call that pre-hormones. Precursors are kind of like these shortcuts for producing hormones with less effort in the body. So there's like a mother hormone that can turn into another hormone. So there's like it's kind of like having a bar mix, a premix at a bar, let's put it that way, where you've got like a 26-ounce bottle that's got premix flavor, and maybe that can make a Moscow Mule, maybe it can make some kind of martini and something else. So think about it that way. It's kind of like a premix. If your body doesn't have enough raw materials to make the hormones you need, it will prioritize the production of stress hormones first, because those are essential for us to survive. This is where we get into, the underlying issues and making sure that we're doing right by our bodies. Your body doesn't consider like reproductive hormones or metabolic hormones or anything else a priority. It wants those high stress hormones because of survival. Stress, can come from emotional or physical situations, but it can even come from not eating enough, not sleeping enough, or just getting an infection or a sickness. And so in order to bolster yourself against stress, which is going to be the first thing that's going to kick your ass hormone-wise, you kind of need to do a bit of study on what all the different hormones are and what their functions are. And so there's adrenal hormones, there's pituitary hormones, there's parathyroid, your pineal gland, your hypothalamus, your ovaries, your testicles, I say pancreas, in all these areas in our body, we have hormones. And so you might want to get online and start Googling what all the hormones are. But the key hormones are going to be like cortisol, so that impacts your alertness, your concentration, your sleep, fat storage, energy expenditure. In both men and women, cortisol affects your cognitive health, your response to exercise, your weight, your fertility, your cardiovascular health, blood sugar, your mood, everything. And so chronic high stress, it can have a lot of negative impacts. So when you're stressed, your body makes more cortisol, but that diminishes your body's ability to make other hormones like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. Okay. So similarly, I mean, I could go in and talk about estrogen and progesterone as well. But I wanted to keep this post for men and women. And so ladies, if you want to know more about how estrogen and progesterone impact your bodies or how they work, I suggest you search it out on the internet or drop me a line. Another one that we have is melatonin, and it's in the pineal gland, and it's responsible for setting our sleep and wake cycle. It's called circadian rhythm, and it's this internal clock. If you have too much, say, light before you're going to sleep, so computers, tablets, things like that, this can block your melatonin production and then disrupt your sleep. And so then you're taking melatonin at night to counteract that, but really you're just working against yourself. So if you're somebody who likes a lot of screen time but is also taking melatonin, it's kind of like purposefully going to battle every day. Instead of doing that, you might want to rejig your sleep habits. The precursor to melatonin is serotonin, and so that's a neurotransmitter that's derived from an amino acid called tryptophan, which you probably all relate to eating turkey and having a tryptophan turkey coma. But that's one of the reasons why low serotonin is associated with lack of sleep, because once you're low on melatonin, your body's going to kick out serotonin, get rid of it, because it needs melatonin more. And so when you have a melatonin dysfunction, you might have trouble sleeping, insomnia, you're restless, you're really tired during the day, or you have brain fog. So you can take melatonin supplements, but I also think it's really important to obviously make sure you're feeding your body correctly, and also to make sure that you're not having screen time later on. Testosterone is produced like estrogen with men and women. Men produce more, so it's associated like as a male hormone, but it's tied to your sex drive, the maintenance of muscle mass, alertness, energy, confidence, strength, like all of those feelings. And low levels of testosterone are related to sexual dysfunction, and so it can also change your body composition. It can also change your mood. And high levels of testosterone in women can lead to reproductive problems, including fertility issues. And so in order to make sure that testosterone is in a good place, we need to make sure that all the other foundations, all the other building blocks are in the right place, and that starts with stress and anxiety. Then you've got your thyroid hormones, and those affect your metabolism and just about every single system through your body. Energy, resting metabolic rate, weight, sleep, body temperature, sex drive, and for women, their menstrual cycle. Insulin, leptin, all of these hormones need to be maintained, and we know that stress sets them off kilter. And so there are a lot of different signs and symptoms of a hormone imbalance, which you can go online and Google, but low libido, really heavy PMS, period, or really bad PMS, unintentional weight gain, hair loss, missing periods, insomnia, restlessness, brain fog, acid reflux, constipation, diarrhea, bloating. That's all a sign of either low testosterone, high cortisol, high estrogen, or low progesterone, low estrogen, thyroid hormone imbalances, low melatonin, or an abnormal parathyroid hormone. What my message here is, go get a blood panel done, for one, if you're feeling these symptoms, so that you can cut to the chase. But you have to balance hormones, and first and foremost, it's getting a healthy gut and decreasing inflammation, and your immune system being overactive because of high stress levels or genetics or inflammation. You might develop an autoimmune condition, something like Hashimoto's. Lyme disease. You could also develop something like IBS. Nutritionally, you need to eat a balance of macros, carbs, proteins, and fats. You need to reduce inflammatory foods like refined grains, foods with gluten, hydrogenated oils, trans fats, sugar, added sugar in anything, and dairy. You need to eat a lot of probiotic foods. So that would mean fermented foods for, in my case, like kefir, water kefir, kimchi, kombucha. If you're vegan, you can even have vegan yogurts, high fiber fruits like whole grains and legumes, and then other prebiotic foods like chicory root, oats, onions, bananas. So you see I use a lot of oats in the morning for breakfast. It's not just because I like the taste of them. They're a good prebiotic. And then you're going to want between 25 and 30 grams of fiber every day. That comes in avocados, raspberries, lentils, split peas, psyllium husks. And then you're going to want to get enough healthy fats. And that can come just specifically from coconut oil, olive oil, nuts and seeds. And of course, at least 8-ounce glasses of water every day. It's important to stay hydrated. And then we limit our caffeine and our alcohol. So that would be 1 alcoholic drink per day for women, 2 for men, and then 1 to 2 cups of coffee per day. That's it. And so like for me, first thing in the morning, I have my cup of coffee, which is actually almost 2 cups of coffee. I don't typically finish it, and that's it. When I wake up, I drink an entire liter of water, and then I start my day. So make sure you're balancing your macros of like 50% of your plate being produce, 25% protein, 25% carbs, and then a healthy fat incorporated throughout. Reduce all those inflammatory foods I talked about. Eat more probiotic foods. And then aim for 25 to 30 grams of dietary fiber every day. There's lots of sources for healthy fats, so please check them out. Please don't be consuming a bunch of hydrogenated oils that aren't good for you. Drink enough water. Pregnant women should be drinking more water than women who are not pregnant. Breastfeeding women should be drinking even more. So it's about 9 cups a day for a regular woman, 10 for a pregnant woman, 13 for a woman breastfeeding. Avoiding all of that alcohol to make sure that your pancreas is working properly. You will have less of a risk for developing insulin resistance that way. Of course, liver disease, and then it lowers your testosterone and your sex drive, and doesn't help with anxiety either. Hormone disruption has a lot of symptoms. Again, low libido, impotence, erectile dysfunction in men, vaginal dryness in women. That's low testosterone, bad PMS or heavy periods, unintentional weight gain, unexplained changes in appetite, mood changes or depression, and that's high estrogen, low progesterone. Your high cortisol is going to be weight gain again, unexplained increase in appetite, bloating, acid reflux, constipation, diarrhea, high cortisol. Women in a low estrogen scenario, they're going to have depression, mood changes, missed or irregular periods. And then an imbalanced thyroid is going to give you, again, unintentional weight gain or loss and hair loss or hair thinning. There are lots of different ways to balance these hormones. There are lots of different foods to balance these hormones. But what I'm telling you is, first and foremost, get rid of the stress and then bring in some healthy foods and have them be balanced. If you want to know more about hormone imbalance, please message me. There are professionals that deal with this all the time. I do talk to my clients about this stuff, and it is very important to incorporate a diet for your hormones in your meal plans, but you have to talk to your coach and you have to talk to your doctor about exactly what you're experiencing, and do run a blood panel so that we can help you. Any more questions about hormones, DM me or drop me a line to my email at sasha@foodmedicinelife.com.